So as you can see after the game, Caitlin Clark and Sophie are both running up to the referee here. They are both so upset, and the referee is just walking away from them. He won't even look at them in the face. He keeps turning. Like, Sophie even went up at one point and is like tapping on his arm. He would not even look at them.
What began as a potential turning point for the WNBA quickly unraveled into one of the most controversial nights in league history. The Indiana Fever's clash against the reigning champions, the New York Liberty, was supposed to be a landmark moment. Sold-out seats, primetime broadcast, and Caitlin Clark facing one of the league's most dominant teams. Instead, it evolved into a firestorm of officiating chaos that left players enraged, coaches fuming, and fans calling foul. As the final buzzer sounded, Clark and Sophie Cunningham rushed to confront the referee, who refused to engage or even make eye contact. Footage captured Cunningham tapping the official's arm, desperately demanding acknowledgement, only to be dismissed entirely. What followed was a wave of fury across the fan base, a storm of accusations that the game had been hijacked by biased officiating. And in an unprecedented twist, the fallout didn't stop at the referees. It reached the very top of the WNBA. Like, subscribe and comment, protect the game. If this controversy proves the WNBA needs to clean up its officiating. In the post-game press conference, Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White stepped up to the microphone with the composure of a professional and the fury of someone pushed too far. What she delivered wasn't just a statement, it was an indictment.
Disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that to consume us, right? Like, we've got to be able to play through that. We've got to be able to control the things that we can control. I felt like at times our late game execution was good, and I consider most of the latter half of the fourth quarter, because it was a tight ball game.
With her team visibly battered, emotionally drained, and shortchanged on the scoreboard, White unleashed a pointed critique of the refereeing that had plagued her squad all season. A -31 free throw differential had finally shattered any illusion of fairness. Despite the Fever attacking the basket with purpose, the whistle remained silent while the Liberty piled up free throws at will. White called the officiating disrespectful and made it clear her players weren't imagining things. They were being dismissed by a system that refused to acknowledge them. Her voice didn't crack, but the emotion was unmistakable. This wasn't about one game. This was about a recurring trend that had slowly eroded trust in the league's integrity. White made it known. She saw it. Her players felt it. And it would no longer be ignored.
They've done a great job of rigging this. They've done a great job of rigging this league. The league, they're not even being subtle. They're not even being subtle. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing.
Caitlin Clark didn't need a microphone to make her frustration known. Her expressions told the story: confusion, disbelief, and the weight of unmet expectations. Throughout the game, she absorbed hit after hit without relief from the officiating crew. Her passes, vision, and leadership were on full display, yet each drive to the basket felt like an invitation to be fouled without consequence. On the final possession, replays showed at least 4 distinct fouls committed against her, none of them called. Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston, another cornerstone of the Fever's rebuild, refused to give a statement post-game. Her silence wasn't indifference, it was exhaustion. The lack of consistency from referees has become a talking point for weeks, but in this moment, the body language from the league's rising stars was deafening. The officials' unwillingness to engage with Clark or Cunningham after the game raised even more questions. If players can't question calls and coaches are left unheard, then what power structure is really in place?
The fact that this referee wouldn't even acknowledge the players was kind of crazy to me. Like, when I saw that, I said, this is really strange, because the referee should have enough confidence in the calls that they made to at least discuss. You should be able to at least discuss.
The statistical evidence supporting the Indiana Fever's frustration is staggering. A -31 free throw differential isn't a minor imbalance. It's a red flag waving at full speed. In a game decided by single-digit margins, New York's 32 attempts at the line compared to Indiana's 15 created a lopsided battlefield. But this game was not an isolated incident. Across the season, the Fever have consistently found themselves on the wrong end of the whistle. The league's official data shows a mounting trend. One team is being rewarded for contact, the other is punished for effort. And in high-pressure moments, the disparity becomes glaring. Lexi Hull, known for her disciplined, textbook defense, was charged with fouls that defied explanation. Meanwhile, the Liberty seemed immune to physical infractions. The numbers offer no ambiguity. This isn't perception, it's pattern. A game filled with playoff intensity was derailed by officiating so skewed, fans questioned whether the outcome had been predetermined.
I can't believe what I'm about to say. The Indiana Fever, with the strongest, loudest, most intimidating home court advantage in all the WNBA, just got robbed at home. I saw it with my own two eyes live on CB.
What began inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse quickly spilled across every major social media platform. Clips of Caitlin Clark getting hammered in the paint with no whistle went viral within minutes. Fans dissected slow-motion replays, highlighting every missed call and exposing the inconsistencies in officiating that had plagued the game. Hashtags like #RigWNBA and #FreeThrowFix trended nationwide as basketball fans, both longtime followers and new viewers drawn by Clark's stardom, expressed outrage. For many, the issue wasn't just about one player. It was about a league that appeared unwilling to protect its biggest draw. Memes, breakdowns, and heated commentary from analysts dominated the sports conversation for days. The sentiment was clear. This wasn't just poor officiating, it felt like sabotage. And the reaction wasn't limited to social media. Inside the arena, fans booed calls with intensity, and even national broadcasters hesitated to defend the refs. The game had become a flashpoint, and the league could no longer afford to stay silent. In a move that stunned even seasoned league observers, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert was reportedly suspended following the blowback from the Liberty versus Fever controversy. Internal reports revealed that Engelbert had repeatedly ignored escalating officiating complaints from coaches, players, and ownership groups. The suspension marked a historic moment. Never before had a sitting commissioner been publicly sidelined in the middle of a season. Sources close to the league suggested this was not a spontaneous decision. Executives had allegedly been lobbying for Engelbert's removal behind closed doors for weeks. The Liberty Fever games simply served as the breaking point. With national attention on Caitlin Clark and viewership an all-time high, the optics of that chaotic night pushed the situation past the threshold. What was presented as a routine accountability measure, the suspension of referees, quickly spiraled into a full-blown leadership shakeup. Engelbert's failure to act decisively when the league's credibility was on the line became her undoing. Fueling the commissioner's downfall was a growing narrative that the WNBA had shown favoritism toward the New York Liberty. While some dismissed the claims as conspiracy, the visual evidence from last season reignited scrutiny. During the WNBA Finals, Kathy Engelbert stood center court in a dress matching the Liberty's black and blue color scheme as she handed the trophy to New York. For many fans, that image was more than a coincidence. It was a signal. Since then, nearly every controversial call benefiting the Liberty has been met with skepticism. The Fever game was merely the latest chapter in a troubling pattern. A string of questionable whistles, coupled with lopsided foul totals and Engelbert's perceived proximity to the Liberty brand, created a perception crisis. This wasn't just about impartiality, it was about optics. And in a league trying to gain national trust, perception matters as much as reality. The moment Engelbert's image from that trophy ceremony resurfaced, her credibility began to unravel. The Liberty versus Fever showdown was supposed to elevate the league into a new era, an electric atmosphere, a generational talent in Caitlin Clark, and a contender in the New York Liberty. Instead, it became a national moment of embarrassment. The broadcast reached millions, including new fans experiencing WNBA basketball for the first time. What they witnessed wasn't a league competition. It was a glaring example of inconsistent officiating. Clark's final possession, where she was visibly fouled multiple times without a single whistle, circulated on every major sports network and platform. What should have been a highlight package turned into a case study in officiating failure. The league responded by suspending the referees involved, but by then, the damage had been done. Fan trust was shaken, players felt exposed, and the league's rapid growth suddenly stood on shaky ground. With each viral clip and each outraged reaction, the WNBA's missed opportunity became clear. A golden moment wasted in front of the widest audience it had ever drawn. Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA goes far beyond box scores. Her arrival has ushered in an entirely new wave of attention, from record-breaking ticket sales to unprecedented television ratings. With that spotlight comes heightened scrutiny, and the league is now learning that every missed call involving Clark is no longer a local issue, but a national story. Her presence has amplified the stakes. What might have once passed as officiating inconsistency is now interpreted as bias, negligence, or worse, systemic failure. Clark's rising profile has turned routine plays into headline material and post-game frustrations into league-wide reckonings. The Liberty Fever fiasco didn't just put referees under fire. It made clear that the WNBA could no longer operate as if its audience wasn't watching closely. Clark didn't just elevate the game on the court, she forced the league to confront its flaws off of it. The margin for error has disappeared, and the WNBA's credibility now hinges on how it handles its most visible star. The WNBA stands at a defining crossroads. On one side is unprecedented momentum, soaring ratings, sold-out arenas, and the emergence of a generational star in Caitlin Clark. On the other is a crisis of credibility that threatens to derail that progress. The officiating chaos, culminating in the suspension of referees and the ousting of Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, exposed deeper fractures within the league's infrastructure. For Indiana, the message from Coach Stephanie White was loud and clear. Enough is enough. The Fever have competed, endured, and persevered, but can only do so much without institutional support. Fans have shown up, but many are questioning whether their investment in the league is being respected. The next move belongs to the WNBA, a full officiating overhaul, transparency in leadership, and protection of all players, especially those carrying the league's future, are no longer optional. If changes aren't made swiftly, the league risks losing the very audience it worked so hard to capture. Comment, fix the whistle, if the WNBA needs to take officiating reform seriously before it loses its biggest moment.